Back in his quarters in the Palace of Justice, Frollo begins to realize his lustful feelings for Esmeralda and prays to Mary to be free of such feelings to escape eternal damnation. During his prayer, he blames Esmeralda more and more for igniting such feelings in him and concludes his prayer with wishing that she would either be destroyed or be his to possess. The British guard informs him of Esmeralda's escape, and Frollo demands that Esmeralda will be given the choice to either be in his or to burn. The next morning, an exhausted Frollo instigates a citywide manhunt for Esmeralda. He orders Phoebus to track down the Roma hiding throughout the city. Frollo offers the captured Roma an increasing number of pieces of silver for information on Esmeralda, but no one gives her location away, and Frollo has them locked up. When Frollo orders Emiler's family to be burned alive inside their home for welcoming Roma, Phoebus defies the judge and saves the family when Frollo sets the house alight. Frollo orders Phoebus executed for treason. Esmeralda, watching from nearby, slings a stone at Frollo's horse, causing a distraction that allows Phoebus to escape. After being hit by an arrow, Phoebus falls into the Seine River and is left for dead by Frollo, but he is rescued by Esmeralda, who takes him to Notre Dame for refuge. The manhunt yields no result, and Frollo ponders on how Esmeralda could have possibly escaped the cathedral, eventually concluding that Quasimodo must have helped her. Meanwhile, in the bell tower, Quasimodo watches the city burn, worried for Esmeralda. Victor, Hugo, and Laverne assure Quasimodo that Esmeralda is staying safe and encourage him to tell her how he feels, as he has much to offer. When Esmeralda arrives, Quasimodo is relieved to see her. She introduces him to Phoebus and begs Quasimodo to hide him until he recovers from his injuries. Despite his heartbreaking as he watches, Esmeralda and Phoebus express their feelings for one another. Quasimodo promises Esmeralda that he will protect Phoebus. Jolly alerts them to Frollo's approach, and Quasimodo sends them out through a different route, then hides an unconscious Phoebus underneath his workbench. When Frollo arrives in the tower, he offers Quasimodo some grapes and watches as Quasimodo fumbles nervously. Frollo hints that he knows Quasimodo is hiding something, noticing a wooden figure of Esmeralda that Quasimodo made. Frollo reveals he knows Quasimodo helped Esmeralda escape and loses his temper at Quasimodo, claiming that it's the hunchback's fault that Paris is burning, and calling Esmeralda a gypsy who is incapable of love. He clutches Quasimodo by his shirt, but stops to recompose himself as he thinks Quasimodo is under his spell, promising to free both from her. As he leaves, the judge bluffs that he knows where the Court of Miracles is and intends to attack it at dawn with a battalion. After Frollo leaves, Phoebus requests Quasimodo's help in finding the court before Frollo. At first, Quasimodo won't go because of his fear of Frollo and jealousy of Phoebus. Phoebus is disappointed with Quasimodo's attitude and leaves. The gargoyles are also unimpressed with Quasimodo. Eventually, Quasimodo concludes that he has to help his friend, and he meets Phoebus at the base of the cathedral to show him the amulet Esmeralda gave him. After Quasimodo realizes that the amulet is a map, the two set out to find the Court of Miracles. Once inside, they are ambushed by Roma and are almost hanged by their leader, Clopin, who accuses them of being spies. They are saved when Esmeralda intervenes and clears up the misunderstanding. Phoebus warns the court that Frollo plans to invade at dawn. Esmeralda urges everyone to leave right away, and everyone starts to pack up. Esmeralda thanks Phoebus for warning them, even though it was risky. Phoebus realizes Quasimodo's feelings for Esmeralda gives him all the credit. Suddenly, Frollo's army appears and captures all the Roma. He gloats about Quasimodo being useful at last, leading him to Esmeralda, but she calls the judge a liar, knowing that Quasimodo did not do it intentionally. He's also impressed at Phoebus being alive and promises to remedy that. He tells the Roma there will be a bonfire the next day, and everyone is invited to witness it. Quasimodo pleads with his master to stop, but Frollo won't have it. He has his soldiers take Quasimodo back to the bell tower and chain him there. At dawn, Frollo reads Esmeralda's crimes, charging her with witchcraft and declaring the sentence to be death by burning. He gives Esmeralda one last chance to choose him or the fire, but she splits into Frollo's face and glares at him. Frollo announces that Esmeralda has refused to recant and that she will be burned. Up in the bell tower, the gargoyles try to free Quasimodo, telling him not to give up, but he refuses to listen. They tell him he is stronger than stone, which gets through to Quasimodo after a moment, and he determines to rescue Esmeralda. Frollo sets the pier ablaze. Quasimodo shouts for her and strains at his chains until he breaks them. He then rappels down to the pier and frees Esmeralda, by this point unconscious from the smoke inhalation, bringing her to the bell tower and crying, "Sanctuary!" As Frollo grabs a sword and orders his men to seize the cathedral, Phoebus escapes and ignites a rebellion among the people of Paris who have had enough of Frollo's tyranny. The Parisians free the Roma and offer them weapons. Battle ensures in the street between the citizenry and Frollo's army. Quasimodo lays Esmeralda on his bed and starts to fight off Frollo's soldiers by tossing bricks and various other items at them, releasing their grappling hooks, knocking down their ladders, finally by pouring molten metal through the cathedral's gargoyle spouts. Frollo, however, still manages to break in and force his way past the archdeacon. Quasimodo, believing Esmeralda to be dead, breaks down in tears because her body, as Frollo comes into the room to kill him with a dagger. Quasimodo, in his fury, disarms his former guardian, striking genuine fear into Frollo. Quasimodo tells Frollo that people like him are the only reason the world is so dark and cruel. Esmeralda regains consciousness and calls for Quasimodo, and Quasimodo grabs her and flees when he sees Frollo draw a sword, still determined to kill Esmeralda. The judge chases them onto the balcony, where he slashes at Quasimodo and Esmeralda with his sword. Frollo explains his irritation and lack of surprise that Quasimodo would protect Romney, revealing that Quasimodo's mother had died trying to protect him. Frollo then uses his cloak to pull Quasimodo down, resulting in both of them dangling off the edge of the cathedral. Frollo manages to regain his footing on a gargoyle spout as Esmeralda attempts to help Quasimodo back onto the balcony, gripping his arm desperately as he begins to asphyxiate due to his kyphosis. Frollo raises his sword in preparation to strike Esmeralda, dramatically paraphrasing the Bible with, "And he shall smite the wicked and plunge them into the fiery pit." At the moment, the gargoyle cracks, causing Frollo to lose his footing. He desperately grips the gargoyle as it appears to come to life and snarl at him before breaking completely, plunging Frollo into the molten metal and fire below. After Frollo falls to his death, Esmeralda loses her grip on Quasimodo. He starts to fall, but is caught by Phoebus on a lower floor. After three friends reunite, Esmeralda rushes into Quasimodo's arms while Phoebus steps aside. However, Quasimodo, realizing he only loves her as a friend, convinces Esmeralda to be with Phoebus and blesses their relationship. As the citizens celebrate their victory over Frollo, Esmeralda gently coaxes Quasimodo to join them. Quasimodo reluctantly emerges from the cathedral to face the populace again. This time, the little girl approaches him and gently touches his face and then embraces him. Quasimodo is victoriously carried through the streets on the shoulders of his fellow Parisians, overjoyed to be one of them at last.